The apocalypse started, and somehow I ended up trapped on a tiny wooden raft with my insanely beautiful landlady. Now, if this were a romance novel, this is probably the part where I'd say, "Are you Google? Because you have everything I've been searching for." Unfortunately, this wasn't a romance novel. There was no land, no food, no way out, just an endless ocean stretching beyond the horizon. And according to the mysterious message floating in front of us, every human on Earth had been sentenced to a brutal ocean survival game for polluting the planet. The rules were simple: find supplies, upgrade your raft, stay alive. Because if you died here, you died for real. Still, while everyone else was panicking about the end of the world, most people in the global chat seemed focused on something else. The gorgeous woman standing next to me. Honestly, I couldn't blame them. For a few seconds, I was already planning our future. You know, the kind of future where I'd eventually ask, "Do you have a map? Because I keep getting lost in your eyes." Then reality hit me. Hard. Because on a raft in the middle of the apocalypse, being handsome doesn't get you food. And being in love definitely doesn't stop you from starving to death. Just as I was vividly imagining a wonderful, relaxed future, someone had to go and mock me for being weak, sneering that a loser like me didn't deserve to have a beautiful woman by my side. Fine. Let them talk. I swore to myself right then and there that I would secretly get stronger, build up my power in the shadows, and quietly shock everyone when they least expected it. But my grand plans for a quiet cultivation arc were violently derailed. It turned out that the powers that be had decided to cast all of humanity into a boundless ocean for survival, using the pretext that we had polluted the sea. Now, if I wanted to stay alive, I had to constantly scour the water for supplies and upgrade my meager raft. Looking through the global updates, I realized the sorting system was completely unhinged. Some poor souls were cast away with a vegetable-selling auntie, while others got teleported into the deep blue with a back-scrubbing old man. Me? I was somehow blessed by the RNG gods and got paired up with a spectacularly hot beauty. In an instant, looking at her, I'd already thought of the names for our future children. Talk about main character energy. Right then, I blinked my eyes open for the first time in this new reality. A floating screen materialized in front of me. Welcome to Ocean Doomsday Survival. Please remember the following rules. Rule 1. The long hook beside the raft can be used to collect supply crates on the sea surface to upgrade your raft. Rule 2. Humans can communicate or trade through the chat window. Rule 3. All of humanity has entered ocean survival. If you die here, you're really dead. After memorizing the conditions, I closed the prompt panel with a heavy sigh. Honestly, adulting is soup, and I'm a fork. These trashy, grim rules immediately made me lose interest in admiring the gorgeous woman beside me. After being a corporate slave for so many years in the old world, couldn't I be the master for once? I cursed inwardly at the universe's audacity. Accepting my grim fate, I looked around and found a 2-meter-long, iron-tipped pole resting against the edge of the wooden raft. Gripping it firmly, I began carefully scanning our immediate surroundings. Since the system explicitly stated there were drifting supply crates out here, I absolutely had to get my hands on them. I observed the rolling waves with hyper-focused attention until finally, about 5 meters away on the open sea, I spotted 2 wooden crates bobbing in the current. Without wasting a second, I yelled to Xiaomei, and together, we began rowing the raft with all our might toward the targets. Reaching out as far as my arms would allow, I extended the long hook, snagged the first wooden crate, and hauled it triumphantly onto the deck. A blue text box popped up. Congratulations, you obtained 3 pieces of bread, 6 bottles of drinking water, and 5 units of rope. Before my eyes, the 2 wooden crates instantly broke down, dissolving into 6 units of wood planks. Holy crap, it's that simple. Task failed successfully, I guess. Part of me couldn't help but wonder if there would be some terrible catch later on, because the sheer manual labor of rowing just now had consumed a massive amount of my energy. To replenish our strength, Xiaomei and I each quickly ate a piece of bread. But the brief moment of peace didn't last, and I could already feel the creeping malice of this harsh environment closing in again. Realizing resources would run out fast, I decided to try using some of our water to trade for sustainable food. I immediately opened the trading interface to check the global market. The entire digital square was chaos. All the survivors were frantically bartering, mostly desperate exchanges of basic food and water. I even saw one girl trying to use a large band-aid to trade for a single bottle of water. Oh my god, these people were truly ruthless. As I kept browsing through the endless panic posts, a specific listing caught my eye. Someone was offering a complete fishing set in exchange for 2 bottles of water. I immediately opened a direct chat and sent a message to the seller. After a bit of intense bargaining, I managed to lock down the deal, trading for the fishing set at the discounted price of just 1.5 bottles of water. At that moment, I laughed inwardly. Was this person actually stupid? We are trapped in an ocean survival scenario, and they are trading away a literal fishing rod. The math ain't mathing. I eagerly pulled the newly acquired fishing set out of the system inventory. Just as my hands gripped the handle, the prompt panel suddenly flashed violently into existence. Talent harvest activated. Supply, fishing set triggered a 10x increase. Congratulations, you obtained the Chaser set, a premium fishing set. Every hour of fishing guarantees at least 1 catch. Sea fish caught using this set are completely free of pollution. Looking at the golden series of text popping up across my vision, a thoroughly shocked expression froze on my face. Then, my eyes lit up with pure excitement. Wow, there's even a pity guarantee mechanism built in? So nice. But what the heck was this harvest talent? I certainly hadn't chosen it. I quickly opened the status panel in the upper right corner of my vision to investigate, but besides my name, age, and profile avatar, there was absolutely nothing else listed. I was built different, apparently, but the system wasn't letting me see the back-end code. Where did you get that fishing rod? Xiaomei asked, her voice snapping me out of my thoughts as she stared at the glowing, high-end gear in my hands. I just picked it up in the trading area, I replied smoothly, holding it out for her to see. Look, I decided right then to completely hide the matter regarding my unique talent. After all, looking through the global chats, I hadn't seen a single person mention having talents. Keeping a trump card secret was basic survival. Beside me, Xiaomei just stood there, completely shocked into silence by the incredible stats of the premium fishing rod. Does this mean we won't have to worry about food anymore? Xiaomei asked, her voice trembling with an excitement she couldn't quite contain. I nodded, feeling an incredible wave of relief and happiness washing over me. Bro understood the assignment. After that, I had Xiaomei take over the fishing rod, instructing her to keep a sharp eye on the surrounding water so we wouldn't miss any floating supply crates. I used the excuse of monitoring the trading area for good deals, but my true motive was to test whether my hidden talent would trigger a second time. Just as I settled down, Xiaomei let out a sudden, startled cry. I bolted up, rushed over to her side, grabbed the rod, and pulled with everything I had. A massive fish weighing easily about 10 pounds breached the surface and landed heavily on our raft. After flopping around a few times, it dissolved right before our eyes, automatically breaking down into 10 neat, perfectly cut portions of raw fish meat. Damn it, even in an apocalyptic ocean survival scenario, I can't escape the fate of eating pre-prepared food. I looked down at Xiaomei, but as my eyes lingered a second too long, I quickly averted my gaze. To cover my track, I hastily made up an excuse about searching the trading area for a way to start a fire. However, that big, white, plump piece of fish meat kept flashing vividly before my eyes. That's right, don't get any weird ideas, it was definitely the fish meat I was thinking about. Turning my attention back to the trading panel, I quickly bartered half a piece of bread and half a bottle of water for a simple box of matches. The moment the transaction finalized, my harvest talent triggered, multiplying the matches tenfold. Congratulations, you received a refillable set. Once the matches are used up, they automatically refill after 1 day. High-grade waterproof material. Watching the system boost happen a second time, I finally confirmed the rule governing my talent. It only triggers on items bought or traded from other people. Armed with our new waterproof matches, I immediately used 4 units of our wood to build a makeshift grilling rack. Lacking proper skewers, I ended up using Xiaomei's hairpin to hold the fish over the flames. As I watched her long, silky hair cascade loosely over her shoulders without the pin, my thoughts began to drift entirely. A few minutes later, the rich aroma of grilled fish filled the air, and it was ready. Neither of us could wait a second longer, and we started eating heartily, devouring the meal. During our casual chatting, the guaranteed fish from the premium rod also got hooked, securing our food supply further. Eventually, the sun above began to sink below the horizon, painting the sky in deep hues of orange and purple. Exhausted from the day, Xiaomei and I slowly drifted off to sleep on our small wooden sanctuary. In my dreams, I was magically back in a normal, bustling city, holding 2 large, warm, fluffy steamed buns in my hands. I happily stuffed one into my mouth and took a massive, greedy bite. A sharp, sudden scream jolted me awake, shattering the dream of my delicious breakfast. I rubbed my eyes, blinking against the morning light, only to realize with a sinking feeling that I was still trapped on the wooden raft. Reality called, so I hung up. I looked over at Xiaomei, noticing her back was turned to me and her shoulders were trembling slightly. "Good morning, Sister Xiaomei," I called out, trying to clear the sleep from my throat. "What's wrong?" Xiaomei's face was completely flushed red, and she refused to look me in the eye, whispering, I'm fine." Hearing that, I didn't think much of it, assuming she was just stressed, and opened the trading area to start picking out fresh supplies. First, I took a quick mental stock of what we actually had left. Half a loaf of bread, 2.5 bottles of drinking water, 4 units of wood, and 13 portions of fish meat. With our baseline established, I started setting up my trade listings to maximize our yields. 200 grams of fish for 10 units of wood, 5 sets total. 200 g of fish for various items, message for details, 3 sets total. 100 g of fish for various seasonings, 4 sets total. The audacity of the hungry masses was on full display. The moment the listings went live, the fish for wood and the fish for seasonings were snapped up instantly. I withdrew the wood from the system mail first. Thanks to my talent boost, the 50 units of wood multiplied exponentially into 500 units. Suddenly, a bright notification panel flashed across my vision, indicating that our raft was eligible for an upgrade. I didn't hesitate and immediately mashed the upgrade button. The raft instantly expanded outward with a heavy groan of shifting timber, growing from a cramped 3x3 meters to a much more spacious 5x5 meters. The screen updated, showing that the next tier required 20 units of wood and 5 units of rope. I went right back to the trading area and exchanged 5 units of wood for 2 units of rope with another survivor. After extracting the rope from the interface, the harvest talent went to work again, leaving me with 20 units of rope. I wasted no time and upgraded the raft a second time, watching the platform expand beautifully into a grand 7x7-meter deck. Checking the upgrade requirements for the next tier of the raft, I realized that besides the usual wood and rope, I now needed iron. I scoured the trading area, but absolutely no one was selling it. Looks like the raft upgrades have to stop for now, that's above my pay grade anyway. Xiaomei had been staring at me with wide eyes ever since I suddenly manifested that massive haul of wood. Noticing her intense gaze, a wave of secret joy welled up inside me. My image in her heart right now must be incredibly grand. Honestly, it was giving main character energy. Could I have already become her god? The thought echoed in my mind over and over. Could I have already become her god? Could I have already become her god? Could I have already become her god? Just then, a loud, rumbling growl echoed across the deck, instantly snapping my attention back to reality. Xiaomei blushed, looking away. If you're hungry, let's start a fire and grill some fish first, I said, trying to save her from the embarrassment. I pulled out the seasonings I had traded for earlier. Thanks to my harvest talent, the single portions had all multiplied tenfold into 10 full portions each. This was easily enough to last us a long time. Xiaomei stared at the jars in disbelief. How did you manage to trade for so much stuff? I just offered a mysterious smile. Seeing that I wasn't going to give up my secrets, she wisely didn't press further. Let him cook, right? Literally. I struck a match and started the fire. While the fish sizzled over the flames, I opened my private messages to see if any useful items had popped up in my inbox. The first message I opened read, "Hey handsome, this is a picture of me. Give me a piece of fish, and I'll give you the limited edition JK uniform I'm wearing." I snorted to myself. With a genuine, breathtaking beauty sitting right next to me on this raft, who on earth would want a second-hand JK uniform? Respectfully, no. I swiped to the next message. "Hey handsome, give me a piece of fish, and I'll agree to be your girlfriend, okay?" It came attached with a rather revealing photo. Looking at the familiar face on the screen, I let out a slow sigh. Society really is a giant melting pot. In less than a year, the desperate struggle for survival had corrupted someone I knew to have a slightly nasty personality into this pure joke. After scrolling through a mountain of thirst traps and spam, something finally caught my interest. "I have a blueprint for a water purifier," the message read, "but 200 grams of fish is too little. You need to add more." I immediately typed back, "Send it over so I can take a look." The user instantly sent an image of the item details. It was a basic water purifier, capable of producing 100 milliliters of pure water per hour. That meant in 5 hours, it would generate roughly the equivalent of a standard bottle of mineral water. I was incredibly interested. Thinking about the massive potential of my talent's boss bonus, I decided to take the gamble. I replied to the seller and added another half kilo of fish to sweeten the deal, successfully getting my hands on the blueprint. Sure enough, the moment the transaction cleared, the blueprint was struck by the harvest talent. The blue light flared, successfully upgrading it into an advanced water purifier. The blueprint crafting requirements were listed as 5 units of wood, 5 units of plastic, and 5 units of stone. Excited, I immediately shared the good news with Xiaomei. Her eyes lit up, and she gasped in surprise, "Xiao Lu, you're amazing." Riding the high of her compliment, I hurried back to the trading area to acquire the necessary raw materials. I traded 2 units of wood for 1 unit of plastic, and 5 units of wood for 1 unit of stone. Under the glorious influence of my talent, those meager materials instantly became 10 units of plastic and 10 units of stone. I grabbed the required wood from our inventory and initiated the crafting process for the water purifier. A system notification popped up. "Water purifier will be finished crafting in 5 hours. Productivity loading, I thought to myself, quite pleased with the progress. A little later, someone sent a private message saying they had a ceramic bowl to trade and were begging for any scrap of food. Out of the kindness of my heart, I offered half a piece of bread and 100 grams of fish for it. The trade went through, and the moment the ceramic bowl touched my hands, it boosted, transforming into a sturdy, heavy casserole pot. Task failed successfully yet again. I turned to Xiaomei with a grin. "Xiaomei, let's have fish soup for lunch." Just as the words left my mouth, something caught my eye. A dark shape was slicing through the water, rushing toward our raft at an extremely fast, aggressive speed. At that exact moment, my system interface began blinking frantically as the global chat channel flooded with panicked messages about sharks. The text spammed across the screen in a blur. "Help! I see a shark nearby. It's swimming right towards me. What do I do? I see a shark fin near me too. It's coming." I quickly spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs as I stared intently at the sea surface. A sharp, triangular shark fin cut cleanly through the waves, charging directly toward us from behind the raft. He's just standing there, menacingly, except it was swimming, and it was coming fast. Without a second thought, I lunged forward, throwing my arm around Xiaomei and pulling her close to my chest to protect her. Luckily, this stupid shark wasn't particularly smart. Instead of tearing into our wooden platform, it launched itself entirely out of the water, leaped straight over our heads in a massive arc, and swam off into the distance. Having just narrowly escaped a gruesome death, I let out a shaky sigh. I realized I had completely underestimated this survival game, and reality had just slapped me across the face immediately. No thoughts, head empty, we needed weapons, fast. Xiaomei and I immediately split up to scour the global trading area for anything we could use to defend ourselves. Unfortunately, the market was completely empty of weaponry. Even when I posted a ridiculously high price, offering up our precious food reserves, absolutely no one responded. Just as I was about to turn around and explain the bleak situation to Xiaomei, my eyes fell upon the long, iron-tipped hook resting on the deck, and I had a sudden flash of inspiration. We can trade between the two of us. After spending these past 2 intense days surviving together, I felt we had developed a deep level of mutual understanding and trust. Taking a deep breath, I directly told Xiaomei the truth about my hidden talent. She didn't hesitate. Right after I explained it, she listed her own long hook on the market, specifically naming me as the designated trading partner. The moment the trade processed, the harvest talent activated. The long hook triggered a glorious 10x increase. Congratulations, you received an advanced multifunctional long hook. Building on this monumental success, a new thought struck me. I wanted to see if we could abuse this system mechanic, so I had Xiaomei list the hook back to me a second time. But this time, the glowing talent notification remained completely dark. The math ain't mathing anymore. Could the bug have been fixed already? It do be like that. The shark didn't keep us waiting long. Exactly an hour after its terrifying sneak preview, the dark triangular fin sliced through the distance, heading straight back toward our coordinates. Seeing the predator approach, I squared my shoulders and gripped the newly upgraded multifunctional long hook tightly in my hands. Prepare for my painful beating. In a flash, the water erupted as the shark leaped into the air, jaws agape. Instead of dodging, I thrust the heavy, advanced long hook forward with everything I had, driving it deep into the beast. The momentum caused the massive shark to crash directly onto the wooden raft, thrashing violently. Seeing it land, I hurriedly ran over to finish the job. I stabbed the shark several times in a row, pouring all my adrenaline into each strike, until the light in its eyes grew dim and entirely lifeless. It should be dead now, right? Just to be completely safe, I lifted the heavy blunt end of the tool and smashed the shark's head a few more times, only stopping when my arms grew heavy. Suddenly, a massive, glowing system banner materialized in the air. Congratulations to Lu Do and Xiaomei for successfully hunting the shark. What the hell? A global server announcement too. You think this is some competitive online game? I don't want to be on TV. At the exact same time, a bright, ethereal light flashed on the deck. As the glow faded, a sleek, silver-white chest appeared right before our eyes, our official reward for the kill. I approached carefully and slowly opened the lid. Inside, there was no hoard of gold or weapons, only a very ordinary-looking card resting at the bottom. Congratulations on obtaining the first kill reward. Talent card. Upon use, randomly acquire a talent. If you already have a talent, it will be replaced. Reading the system prompt, I didn't hesitate for a single second. I reached down, grabbed the card, and shoved it directly into Xiaomei's hands. Xiaomei, you use it, I told her earnestly. If you happen to draw a powerful talent, I'll be counting on you to take care of me from now on. To celebrate our victory, I suggested we grill some of the fresh shark meat to try. After all, I'd lived an entire life in the normal world and had never eaten shark before. But very quickly, I deeply regretted this decision. The moment the raw shark meat hit the hot stones by the fire, a suffocating, incredibly pungent smell of pure urine enveloped the entire raft, refusing to dissipate into the ocean air. No wonder people historically eat shark fin but completely discard the meat. This horrific smell was like cleaning raw large intestine. Forget it, I muttered, coughing against the fumes as I quickly grabbed the 2 grilled pieces and threw them far into the sea. We're not short on fish to eat anyway. Xiaomei nodded in agreement, picking up the premium fishing rod to resume her duties. Just then, a private message notification pinged on my interface. A survivor was desperately asking to exchange 1 fresh apple for 10 pounds of shark meat. I immediately accepted the offer, secretly delighted that unloading this biohazard of a meal was so completely effortless. Thanks to my talent boost, the single apple multiplied exponentially, and I received 10 crisp apples instead. After sharing the fresh fruit with Xiaomei, I went back to staring intently at the trading area and global chat box, looking for our next advancement. Before long, a trade listing for a portable bathtub blueprint caught my attention. I immediately messaged the seller and exchanged 20 pounds of our remaining shark meat for the paper. The moment the blueprint hit my inventory, the talent boost triggered, upgrading the basic schematic into an advanced fully automatic water purifying bathtub. I opened the build requirements. Blueprint crafting materials needed: 50 units of wood, 20 units of plastic, 20 units of copper wire, 2 units of magnet, 5 units of iron. Xiao Lu, come help. Xiaomei's sudden, strained voice cut through my thoughts. I looked back and saw her struggling violently with the fishing rod, the line pulled taut into the dark water. Hurriedly running over, I wrapped my arms around Xiaomei from behind, gripping the rod with her and pulling with our combined strength to haul the heavy catch up together. The sudden, intense close contact made my face flush bright red, my heart hammering against my ribs. As I pulled back, a fleeting thought crossed my mind, wondering when the next time would be. To hide my embarrassment, I quickly made an excuse to walk away and focus on the blueprint in my hands. Looking at the rare materials required to build the advanced bathtub, I immediately opened the trading area to search for options. To my absolute surprise, luck was on my side. I actually found every single necessary item listed for sale across various shops. Without hesitating, I spent 100 pounds of our excess shark meat to buy out everything available on the market. The moment the transactions went through, my talent went to work, multiplying and upgrading the haul. I obtained a massive total of 50 units of plastic, 100 units of red wire, 30 units of magnet, and 50 units of iron. I instantly initiated the crafting process for the automated bathtub, and then turned my attention back to the platform itself, spending our resources to upgrade the raft to level 3. The wooden structure instantly expanded and thickened, growing a bit bigger right before my eyes. Honestly, who knows when other radical changes will happen in this unhinged world. Just as the structural shifting settled, a crisp chime echoed in my mind. The advanced water purifier was finally completed. Finally done, I cheered happily, turning to share the moment. We'll never run out of water again. But right as the words left my mouth, a crazy idea struck me. I wondered if I could use our internal trading loop to duplicate or alter raw seawater itself, and then purify it later. Eager to test the limits of my ability, I immediately filled an empty plastic bottle with murky seawater, tightened the cap, and handed it over to Xiaomei, telling her to list it specifically for me on the market. The transaction processed, and the bountiful harvest talent roared to life, but the result wasn't a mountain of clean water. Congratulations, you've obtained the source of radiation, wastewater packed with lethal radioactive elements. Throw it at a target location to create a 5x5 meter radiation zone. Any creature caught in the radiation loses 3% of its health per second. When I read that terrifying prompt, my hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the bottle. Holy crap, if this thing accidentally breaks right here, Xiaomei and I are completely done for. Talk about emotional damage. I immediately opened the trading panel, designated the glowing biohazard right back to Xiaomei's system inventory, and sent a frantic warning, telling her absolutely not to take it out under any circumstances. This thing was a straight-up weapon of mass destruction. We would keep it safely locked away in the digital cloud, strictly as a nuclear option last resort if we were ever attacked by sea monsters again. Xiaomei was equally pale and shocked when she saw the attributes of the item I had just traded back to her. She quickly reached out, grabbing my hand tightly, her eyes wide with concern. Are you okay? Do you feel weird anywhere? Feeling the soft, reassuring warmth of her hand against mine, my panic began to melt away. Don't worry, Xiaomei, I'm completely fine. Wanting to get our minds off the pocket nuke we now possessed, we both decided to check the trade area again for practical survival tools. Against all odds, we actually struck gold. I managed to trade for a rare mechanical accelerator designed to speed up purification and crafting times. I immediately applied it, using its high-speed processing for 5 hours straight to instantly finish building the fully automatic water purifying tub. The completed unit was a masterpiece of survival engineering. The automated intake pump could completely fill the entire tub with seawater in just 10 minutes. Then, after only half an hour of processing, it would purify all the toxic pollution out of the water while simultaneously removing 70 to 80% of the raw salt and harsh impurities. Overjoyed by the luxury of the description, I immediately flipped the purification switch. The tub filled up flawlessly. I couldn't wait a single second longer to wash off the brine and grime of the apocalypse, so I stripped down, jumped into the pristine water for a long overdue bath, and immediately fell fast asleep from sheer exhaustion. While I was out cold, snoring away, Xiaomei tiptoed over and quietly climbed into the tub to wash up as well. Looking down at the faint, purple bite mark left on her chest from our wild struggles, her face heated up slightly in the steam. Suddenly, her eyes caught a strange glimmer out on the dark waves. A glowing treasure chest was drifting nearby. Moving quickly and quietly so as not to wake me, she grabbed the advanced multi-purpose long hook, skillfully snagged the crate, and pulled it safely aboard the raft before finally curling up and drifting off to sleep herself. The next day arrived in a flash of bright morning light. Xiaomei eagerly popped the latches on the salvaged chest, revealing a sophisticated solar converter, 3 electronic components, and a heavy mechanical core. The moment the contents were cleared, the chest automatically broke down into 5 ordinary drinking straws. Before we could even celebrate the loot, a booming red system alert blared across the vision of every survivor on the planet. A severe storm will arrive at noon today. Players, please take immediate precautions. Hearing the grim countdown, my blood ran cold. I immediately dumped our accumulated resources back into the system interface to upgrade the raft yet again. This time, the structural transformation didn't just expand the deck, it erected a sturdy, enclosed wooden shelter over our heads and unlocked a passive world effect. Weatherproof. No matter how big the waves, the raft will not capsize. Damn, talk about a massive boost to security. This is fine, I thought, looking around at our newly reinforced fortress. My patience with this ocean apocalypse might be under maintenance, but at least we weren't going to drown today. True to the system's word, the sky turned a bruised, violent purple, and the raging storm arrived soon after. The wooden shelter groaned under the immense pressure of the gale, and the world dissolved into a chaotic blur of screaming wind and crashing waves. I and Xiaomei were tossed around violently, the brutal motion of the raft nearly throwing us overboard into the dark abyss of the churning sea. I immediately held on tight to the structural beams, fighting the violent gales with everything I had, but the structural damage was severe. A collection of debris splintered off, and Xiaomei was injured by flying wood chunks slicing through the air. Finally, after 2.5 agonizing hours, the terrifying fury of the storm gradually calmed down. The adrenaline drained from my system all at once, and I finally collapsed onto the wet deck from sheer exhaustion, my vision tunneling into blackness. Seeing me down and completely unresponsive, Xiaomei actually sacrificed herself for my sake. She dragged her weak body over, bringing her bleeding wound directly to my lips so I could drink her blood. When I finally woke up, a strange sensation washed over me. I realized my painful wounds didn't hurt anymore, completely mended by an unnatural warmth. There was a distinct, metallic, salty yet sweet taste lingering in my mouth. Turning my head, I saw Xiaomei leaning against the shelter, looking incredibly pale and drained. I immediately asked her what was wrong, panic rising in my chest. Xiaomei offered a weak, tired smile and explained, "My talent is medicine. As long as someone isn't dead, one bite of me will heal them. So that's it." Shocked by her revelation, I immediately wanted to find a way to replenish her lost strength. I suggested making soup with the pristine shark fin we had secured earlier for Xiaomei to drink. But before cooking it, to ensure we maximized our resources, I still had Xiaomei listed on the trading panel so she could trade it to me specifically. The moment the transaction went through, the golden text flashed. "Congratulations, you've obtained premium shark fin soup. It nourishes the skin, replenishes blood, and boosts energy. Using this slightly boosts your constitution." Looking at the steaming, miraculous premium shark fin soup that suddenly appeared in my inventory, I could only mutter, "Holy crap, Jade quality food is back in the game. Xiaomei, hurry up and eat." She didn't argue. As she drank the rich broth, the transformation was almost instantaneous. A healthy, vibrant blush returned to Xiaomei's pale face, her breathing stabilizing. With our immediate crisis averted, I opened the system interface, only to find that the chat area was completely filled with utter despair. Less than 3 days, and out of 10,000 people, this is all that's left. One message read, "Is there really any hope for me?" Another sobbed into the digital void. Reading through the desperate logs, I realized the grim reality of our situation. Some people technically survived the physical onslaught of the storm, but they were injured to varying degrees during the chaos. Some of those injuries were so severe that without immediate medical treatment or proper supplies, they ended up dying on the calm raft after the waters had already stilled. This wasn't a game, it was a meat grinder. Just then, a universal system notification popped up across everyone's screens. "Congratulations on surviving the storm. Every survivor is rewarded with a bronze treasure chest." However, this was just the simplest test. Your real trouble is the test on the 7th day. Only by passing that will the survival game officially begin. Struggle hard. As the text faded, 2 glowing bronze chests materialized on the deck of our raft. I shook off the ominous warning and immediately opened the chests to inspect our rewards, but what appeared inside made my old face blush bright red in sheer disbelief. "What the hell?" I blurted out, staring into the container. "Why are there condoms in this chest?" Talk about being thorough. Shaking my head at the system's bizarre sense of utility, I continued checking the rest of the supplies packed inside the chest. Once everything was cataloged, I initiated our standard internal trade with Xiaomei, putting every single item through the harvest boost loop. The talent flared beautifully, and I successfully obtained 5 pet fish bait, 1 advanced enchantment card, 1 speedboat motor blueprint, 100 water purification pills, and a pair of ever-changing stockings. Intrigued, I read the item details for the clothing. Ever-changing stockings, premium skin-friendly, breathable, constant temperature, antibacterial, can change color and style at will. If damaged, they will automatically repair after 24 hours. After regeneration, all stains are removed. Looking at the description of the stockings, a stray thought crossed my mind as I glanced over at Xiaomei. Doesn't this mean I can have fun every day? Delalu is the Solalu, I guess. Along with those, the boost also yielded 1 weapon purification card, 10 hot pot-based packets, and 100 of the same kind due to the duplication effect. After carefully putting the high-tier rewards away in our storage, I listed the 100 water purification pills on the public market, specifying an exchange for non-basic supplies only. I added a strict note. Serious inquiries only. Almost as soon as I posted the listing, my private messages began pinging. The very first one read, "Hey handsome, I can make custom videos, you know. Whatever you want. Just give me 1 water purification pill." I stared at the screen, a wave of profound sarcasm washing over me. Damn, this video-selling chick is still alive? Looking at her casual offer, it looks like she's doing pretty well, despite the world ending. Needless to say, I skipped right past her. Next, I opened the subsequent private message. This survivor wanted to trade a functional sea scooter blueprint in exchange for a batch of water purification pills. This is more reasonable. After a brief negotiation, we settled on a fair price, and I traded 8 water purification pills with them for the schematic. Just then, another message caught my attention. Someone was looking to trade a collection of raw pearls for our pills. The other party claimed they were high-grade, natural pearls, definitely worth more than the asking price of a few clean water tablets. Looking at the description of the shimmering gems, I thought they looked beautiful, and I could give them to Xiaomei as a gift to brighten her day in this endless ocean. My beauty smile is truly worth it, they're as full and round as jade, I thought to myself, completely captivated. Without another thought, I immediately traded away 2 of our water purification pills to get those pearls. The moment I extracted them into my hands, the familiar surge of my hidden ability took over, completely blowing past my expectations. The ordinary gems fused and expanded, turning into a glowing, fist-sized aqua pearl. Whoa, pleasant surprise, I muttered, turning the radiant sphere over in my palms. Doesn't this mean I can be like a merman or something, and move completely freely in the sea? Just thinking about it is awesome. Overcome by curiosity, I immediately gripped the aqua pearl tightly and jumped straight off the edge of the raft into the open ocean. Xiao Mei let out a terrified cry behind me. Xiao Lu, get back up here, don't scare me. Realizing I was giving off major main character energy at the expense of her sanity, I stopped playing around. I immediately swam back, climbed onto the wooden platform, and shook the seawater from my hair while quickly explaining the pearl's miraculous properties to her. After listening to my explanation, Xiao Mei didn't look impressed. Instead, she punched me hard in the chest, her lower lip trembling. You scared me to death. I thought you were under too much pressure and did something stupid. I scratched the back of my head, grinning foolishly at her intense worry. I could never leave you, Xiao Mei. The air grew thick with tension, and I was just about to take this golden chance to finally confess my feelings to her. But of course, an uninvited guest had to arrive at that exact second and completely break the romantic atmosphere. A massive swordfish breached the surface, charging straight at our raft like a living torpedo. I cut my confession short, grabbed the multi-purpose long hook, and braced myself to fight back. Timing its rapid approach, I aimed directly for the swordfish's eye and stabbed down with all my might. The blow landed, but I completely underestimated the creature's raw power. Before I could pull back, its massive tail whipped around, smacking me cleanly off the deck and sending me flying into the sea. Luckily, I had the aqua pearl tightly in my grip, protecting my body from the blunt force trauma so I wasn't actually injured. Blinder and maddened by pain, the swordfish turned and swam rapidly down into the dark, deep sea. Realizing my advanced long hook was still firmly wedged into its eye socket, I refused to let our best tool go. I swam after it immediately, diving deep into the abyss. 10 agonizing minutes passed. Up on the surface, Xiao Mei stared blankly at the still, calm sea, the heavy silence tearing at her nerves. Thinking of every little moment we had shared over the last few days, tears began streaming down her face uncontrollably. Xiao Lu, without even realizing it, you've become the most important person to me. Just come back, and we'll be together. Right as she whispered those words into the wind, I breached the water behind her, pulled myself onto the deck, and wrapped my arms around her in a sudden hug. But wait, why does her hand feel so strange in my grip? I tentatively moved my hand to adjust my hold, then froze completely in place, my face turning bright red as the realization hit me. Xiao Mei, come check out the swordfish I brought up, I said at lightning speed, desperately trying to change the subject before things got weirder. I had her list the massive carcass on the system market and trade it over to me to trigger the boost. After pulling the beast into our inventory and carefully extracting the swordfish's elongated bill, the system flashed with a wild upgrade notification. Congratulations, you've obtained a high-quality ancient sword. The detailed description popped up, a sword crafted entirely from primeval fish bone, possessing the unique ability to consume other bones to permanently increase its own attack power. It's actually that powerful. I wanted to test the edge, so I lightly slashed the bone blade down toward a spare piece of timber on the deck. The heavy wood instantly split into 2 clean halves with 0 resistance. Seeing the sheer destructive power of the ancient sword, Xiao Mei covered her mouth in shock. After carefully putting the bone sword away, I opened the interface to look for more strategic trades. I spent 50 units of our excess fish meat to secure 100 units of wood and a massive 36 hours of system speed-up time from desperate survivors. As I scrolled through the remaining listings, a few highly unusual items caught my eye. A cotton coat design, a waterproof sleeping bag design, and a thermal underwear design. Remembering a bunch of post-apocalyptic novels I had read back on Earth, there was always a trope about a sudden, brutal cold wave hitting the players out of nowhere. Whatever, better safe than sorry. I took them all. Can't hurt to be prepared, right? The moment the blueprints hit my hands, the Harvest talent went to work, fundamentally altering the schematics. They transformed into a washable down jacket design, a self-heating underwear design, and a self-thermoregulating waterproof sleeping bag design. Talk about an upgrade. Just then, Xiao Mei called me over for dinner. As we sat by the fire, I shared my theory about a potential upcoming cold wave with her, explaining why I had hoarded the clothing patterns. After eating our fill, I decided to check the remaining rewards from our previous bronze chest. Hidden at the bottom was the enchantment card. The description stated it could enchant any finished product I currently owned with completely random, permanent special effects. I had a sudden flash of inspiration and decided to apply it directly to our raft. Congratulations, the raft has gained the Sweet Dreams special effect. It will automatically collect any supply chests that appear within a 10-meter radius of the raft. Whoa, I yelled, so incredibly excited by the automation feature that I grabbed Xiao Mei, pulling her close and planted a quick kiss right on her cheek. Before she could even process what had just happened, my brain shifted gears. I remembered I still had that speedboat motor design sitting in my queue. After reviewing the necessary components, I went straight to the trading market and exchanged 20 units of fish meat for 10 units of raw iron. Upon extraction, the talent amplified the haul into 50 units of iron and 5 units of high-grade stainless steel. I immediately dumped 10 hours of our accumulated speed-up time into the system queue to craft the engine instantly. Once the heavy motor was fully assembled and securely installed onto the back of our level 3 raft, I pulled the starter cord, revved the engine, and we finally set sail across the endless blue. Xiao Lu, come quick. There's a chest over here. Xiao Mei's sudden shout shattered the quiet of the open water. Following her gaze, I spotted a wooden supply chest bobbing on the waves about 50 meters away. Knowing I had the water-repelling pearl tucked safely into my pocket for protection, I didn't hesitate. I boldly stepped off the edge of the raft and into the sea, wading through the water to approach the prize. Suddenly, Xiao Mei's eyes went wide as she caught sight of a massive shadow shifting beneath the surface, closing in on my position at terrifying speed. She screamed frantically, "Xiao Lu, watch out, there's something in the water." Before the warning could even fully register in my brain, a thick, orange-red tentacle covered in writhing suckers erupted from the depths. It wrapped around my torso like a vice and dragged me straight down into the freezing sea. Submerged in the dark water, my lungs screaming for air, I fought back the panic and quickly came up with a plan. I managed to access my interface and yelled at Xiao Mei through our link to trade me the ancient sword immediately. The weapon materialized in my grip, and I decisively slashed downward, burying the bone blade deep into the rubbery tentacle binding me. Enraged by the blinding pain, the hidden octopus broke its hold, opened its massive beak, and sprayed a thick cloud of pitch-black ink directly into my face. I was completely covered in the foul, murky substance. A searing, stinging sensation immediately flared across my skin, so excruciating that it completely made me forget about chasing down the monster. Gasping for breath, I scrambled frantically back onto the raft, ignored everything else, and jumped straight into our water-purifying tub. It took quite a long time to scrub the clinging ink off my body. When I finally emerged from the water, the damage was horrifying. The ink had acted like a potent acid, corroding my flesh and leaving my skin covered in raw, weeping sores. Before I could even mutter a word of explanation to the terrified girl beside me, Xiao Mei leaned down, wrapped her arms around me, and pressed her lips to mine. She only stopped after a few intense minutes had passed. As she pulled back, a sudden realization hit me. The agonizing pain was entirely gone, and all the corroded skin on my body had completely healed, smooth as silk. I blinked in confusion. Your talent. Isn't it only supposed to heal flesh and blood? Xiao Mei wiped her mouth, a small smile playing on her lips. Flesh and blood are for healing, serious, life-threatening injuries. For just skin damage, I don't need to use something so drastic. Wow, that's amazing. I grinned, the lingering adrenaline making me bold. Then heal me again. I pulled her close, and we held each other, making out for a while longer on the quiet deck. Eventually, the reality of my wardrobe situation brought me back to earth. Looking down at my pants, which were so severely corroded by the ink that they were completely unwearable, I opened the system interface and started looking for clothes in the trading area. Unfortunately, the market was utterly barren, save for a few people trying to sell sketchy, heavily used garments. For a moment, I just sat in the tub, completely at a loss. Just then, Xiao Mei walked over, holding a primitive leather skirt she had crafted entirely from our leftover shark skin. I put it on immediately. It was incredibly breezy and left very little to the imagination, but hey, it was better than nothing. Shaking off the embarrassment, I focused back on our inventory and had Xiao Mei trade the severed octopus tentacles over to me. The moment the transaction cleared, the harvest talent provided a massive amplification. I instantly received 50 pristine octopus legs and 30 high-grade octopus balls. Reading the item details, I noticed a unique passive effect. Eating them could permanently increase a survivor's physical body flexibility. A stray thought crossed my mind as I looked over at her. If Xiao Mei eats these, I'll be in for a real treat later. Delulu is the Solulu after all. Let's have octopus balls for dinner, I suggested aloud, setting the ingredients aside. I went right back to browsing the trading area, wanting to acquire more raw supplies while the market was active. After all, I'd be a total idiot not to use my talent to its absolute limits. Spotting some bulk resources, I bought 200 units of cotton and 200 units of feathers, making ample, proactive preparations to craft our down jackets and heavy cotton clothes the second the rumored cold wave hit. After the trades were complete, I noticed Xiao Mei standing near the edge of the shelter, staring blankly out at the horizon. I walked over and gently asked what was wrong. Xiao Mei looked up, her eyes swimming with worry. Xiao Lu, how do you think Sixi is doing right now? I squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry, Shizi is a lucky girl. She'll be fine. Meanwhile, across a completely different, isolated sector of the endless sea, a young girl was currently sitting, huddled by a crackling campfire on a tiny raft. She was completely fine, happily devouring a massive, glistening piece of grilled octopus leg with greasy fingers. I wonder how mom and brother Xiaolu are doing, XCC muttered to herself, wiping her chin. Stupid survival game, why couldn't it just put the whole family together in the same place? Back on our raft, night fell rapidly, wrapping the ocean in a deep, peaceful darkness. After a quiet dinner, I held Xiao Mei close against the chill, both of us looking up to admire the glittering starry sky. For a moment, I found myself thinking that this kind of life really wasn't so bad. But just as we were about to drift off to sleep, the peaceful atmosphere was violently shattered. 3 consecutive, blood-red, bolded system notifications materialized directly before our eyes, accompanied by a deafening chime that shocked everyone to their core. Current sea area population detected to be below 1,000. Will merge with other sea areas tomorrow at midnight. Today is your 6th day of raft survival. The sudden, ominous notice stunned me into absolute silence. My brain had too many tabs open trying to process the implications. I quickly opened the global chat channel to check the active rosters. The total number of living souls in our sector was rapidly decreasing, the counter ticking downward in real time. Terrified messages spammed the screen as someone typed out the question on everyone's minds: what the hell is happening? Why are so many people suddenly gone? While the remaining population in the global chat panicked and speculated wildly about the gruesome causes of death for those missing, I decided to be a little generous and throw the survivors a lifeline. It wasn't entirely selfless. After all, I still needed an active pool of people to trade resources with if I wanted to survive long term. I typed out a comprehensive intel warning about the monster attack and sent it into the main channel, attaching a crisp picture of our freshly prepared octopus dumplings just to show how well we were eating. The chat instantly went into a frenzy of worship. Big brother, please give me an octopus dumpling. I can make custom videos for you, whatever you want, one user spammed. I used to be the school belle, you know. Just a single bite, please, another pleaded. Curiosity got the better of me, so I opened a private message from a user named Jiang Yi. Looking at the attached profile image, I couldn't help but let out a dry laugh. It looked like the school belle's family wasn't doing too well in this apocalypse. She didn't even have a decent piece of clothing left to her name. So pitiful. Naturally, after saving the photo with a single click, I closed the chat interface. I didn't have time for internet drama. I crawled back under the blankets and fell fast asleep, holding Xiaomei close against the chill. Waking up the next morning, a small black dot bobbing on the distant horizon immediately caught my attention. I fired up the motor, guiding the raft closer to coordinate our positioning. The moment we pulled within range, the raft's newly enchanted Inviting Dreams effect activated flawlessly, pulling a floating wooden chest right out of the water and onto the deck. I routed the container through our standard internal trading loop with Xiaomei to trigger the multiplier. Once the boost settled, I ended up with 10 packs of sanitary pads, a pair of self-adjusting jeans, a windproof and waterproof lighter, and a digital video labeled Lady. I stared the media file in sheer confusion. I only know about Lady Gaga, so what the hell is this lady? I shook my head and tossed the file aside. The self-adjusting jeans, however, completely solved my most urgent, literal problem. I threw off the breezy sharkskin skirt and pulled them on immediately. Finally, no more awful chafing. My patience was no longer under maintenance. Afterward, I opened the trading group to scan for upgrades and found quite a few new things floating around the market. My eyes locked onto a trade listing offering brand new women's clothing. Thinking about how Xiaomei had been forced to go entirely commando since this survival nightmare started, I immediately decided to snag it, parting with 30 units of wood. The harvest talent amplified the transaction beautifully, yielding 20 complete sets of women's clothing and 3 premium sets of underwear. Better yet, the upgrade applied a permanent cleanliness effect. The garments would literally never get dirty or retain odors, no matter how long they were worn. Xiaomei's eyes lit up. She immediately grabbed a sleek tracksuit, retreated into the shelter, and changed into it. When she stepped back out, she let out a sigh of relief. Finally, I feel a little safer. A few minutes later, a direct message popped up from a survivor wanting to trade a mysterious water-purifying bowl. The user claimed the item was a guaranteed win for me, hyping it up to the moon. Intrigued, I decided to take the gamble. I grit my teeth and offered up 20 of our precious water-purifying pills to close the deal. Bountiful harvest activated. The system chimed. Congratulations, you got 10 blind boxes. The description noted that opening them would grant completely randomized rewards from a massive global pool. Excited, I quickly called Xiaomei over so we could open them together. The very first box popped open, dissolving into a single-use combat skill card, Fireball. Seeing that we had started off incredibly strong, main character energy practically radiating from the deck, I eagerly cracked open the second blind box. The box opened with a flashy burst of light, revealing absolutely nothing of use. The item was a complete dud. I stared at the empty prompt, a wave of profound sarcasm washing over me. This blind box opening is just too good. Seriously, I'm definitely sending this system to the Spring Festival Gala this year for a comedy routine. Refusing to believe my bad luck was going to hold, I kept opening the remaining containers myself. Congratulations, you got the Foot Massage Master skill card. Congratulations, you got the Acupuncture and Massage Master skill card. I stared at the floating, glowing text, my jaw dropping. Seriously? Come on, give me some offensive skills. Are you planning on making me open a luxury foot spa out here in the middle of the ocean? Adulting is soup, and I am a fork. Frustrated with my own luck, I handed the rest of the boxes over to Xiaomei and told her to take the reins. Bro understood the assignment perfectly. Her luck was built different. In rapid succession, she opened a single-use cooking skill card, a single-use ice spike skill card, a permanent weakness perception skill card, a permanent mental soothe skill card, and a passive permanent bloodlust skill card. I picked up the 3 permanent skill cards to evaluate their utility, starting with Weakness Perception. Upon activation, it automatically marks an enemy's critical structural or physical weaknesses. Attacking those designated zones deals double critical damage. Mental Soothe was straightforward, allowing the user to quickly restore exhausted mental energy. Finally, I looked over the details for Bloodlust. Consuming high-energy food can rapidly restore the user's health pool, and any healing that exceeds the body's natural capacity will be condensed and stored internally as physical blood beads. If the user ever becomes anemic or severely wounded, these blood beads automatically dissolve to instantly restore health. Without a second thought, I handed the Bloodlust and Mental Soothe cards directly to Xiaomei. After all, if I wanted to get closer to Xiaomei and ensure our long-term survival, I needed her to be as healthy and resilient as possible. I then crushed the Weakness Perception skill card myself, absorbing the knowledge as a cold wave of clarity washed over my vision. Just as the skill integrated into my status, the raft's auto-loot feature chimed, dragging another wooden crate right out of the surf. Following our same old routine, I passed the contents through our internal trade loop with Xiaomei. The result was highly lucrative. We obtained a detailed blueprint for an automatic defense harpoon, 10 hydroponic tomato seeds, and 30 potato seeds. I pulled up the material list required to craft the automatic harpoon and immediately went to the public trading area to buy out the raw components. With the items sitting in my inventory, I initiated the crafting sequence. I reached for our mechanical accelerator to skip the build time, but just as I was about to click use, a thought struck me. The accelerator itself had never actually been boosted by my talent. I pulled my hand back and immediately initiated a quick trade with Xiaomei to run it through the system filter. The final result went completely beyond my wildest imagination. The single item transformed under the talent, multiplying into a staggering 950 hours of standard acceleration time and 10 advanced accelerators. I clicked on the description for the upgraded item, Advanced Accelerator. Can accelerate your own personal time by 10x for 1 minute. Holy crap. My mind reeled as I realized the tactical applications. Isn't this practically invincible? In combat, a 10 times speed boost means the entire world would look like it was moving in slow motion. Grinning like a madman, I used a fraction of our newly duplicated standard acceleration time to craft the automatic harpoon directly, watching the weapon assemble itself on the deck in seconds. Congratulations, you got the automatic defense harpoon. The system text hovered in the air, confirming the successful build. According to the blueprint's specifications, it could be mounted directly onto the perimeter of our platform to establish a fully automated warning zone, instantly launching high-velocity strikes the absolute second it detected any hostile intent. My eyes immediately lit up with excitement. Wow, patrol and attack all seamlessly integrated into one. Seriously, please give me more legendary gear like this in the future. With our baseline weaponry secured, I turned my attention back to our core base. To significantly strengthen our overall defense before the true horrors of the ocean game caught up to us, I decided to upgrade the raft yet again. I pulled up the system requisites. Level 5, raft upgrade materials, 200 wood, 50 rope, 20 iron, 100 wire, 50 copper nails, 20 leather, 3 mechanical cores. Thanks to my resource hoarding, I had everything on hand and initiated the structural evolution immediately. The wooden platform expanded aggressively, shifting and locking into place with heavy mechanical thuds. The newly minted level 5 raft now featured a dedicated integrated workbench, granting us the ability to manually craft basic survival weapons from raw components. Even better, the base itself unlocked a unique utility skill, chumming. When activated, the skill would release a localized acoustic and chemical signature into the water, making it significantly easier to attract all kinds of marine prey to our coordinates. It could be used exactly once per day, though a flashing crimson subtitle warned, "Warning, using this skill carries severe inherent risks. Please use with absolute caution." Next, I used our leftover components to assemble the cooking stove, successfully unlocking 2 automated recipes into my culinary interface, grilled fish and chopped chili fish head. Craving something fresh, I immediately threw some raw fillets onto the heat to prepare the grilled fish and called Xiaomei over to give it a taste. Watching her red lips move slightly as she delicately chewed the perfectly seasoned meat, a sudden, heavy wave of heat rushed straight to my lower abdomen, making my jeans feel incredibly tight. It was giving major main character energy, and I couldn't help myself. "Xiaomei, don't move," I murmured, leaning in close. "Let me wipe your mouth." Before she could even realize what I was doing, I closed the distance and kissed her deeply. When I finally pulled back, Xiaomei flushed crimson and glared at me with zero actual anger. "You're always thinking about doing bad things." I chuckled softly, flashing her a playful grin. "How is this a bad thing? Experts say kissing every day can significantly make you live longer." She crossed her arms, teasingly raising an eyebrow. "Which expert said that? How come I've never heard of it?" "Expert Bay," I quipped smoothly. Ding dong. A sharp notification chime cut our banter short. I opened my interface and noticed a direct message from an old roommate friend of mine from the before times. He was struggling on his own raft and wanted to trade a surplus item for some solid food. Seeing what he had put up on the block, I immediately agreed to the terms, parting with 3 loaves of bread in exchange for his listing. Finally, no more scraping myself clean with a literal wooden stick. That was an absolutely awful, barbaric experience. I proudly marched over to the shelter, carrying the 10 pristine rolls of toilet paper, presenting them to Xiaomei like a grand fortress of legendary treasure. Xiaomei was absolutely thrilled when she saw what I was holding, throwing her arms around my neck and planting a sweet, lingering kiss right on my cheek. Feeling completely content, we crawled into our sleeping bags and fell asleep peacefully in each other's arms. The next morning, we were both violently woken up by a biting, miserable chill cutting straight through the shelter. The once bright, clear sky had turned a dark, bruised violet, heavy with suffocating clouds as strong, freezing gales began whipping violently across the surface of the sea. A massive world banner flashed across our vision. The beginner's trial is about to begin. Everyone, prepare yourselves. This trial will last continuously until midnight. Before I could even finish reading the fine print of the system notice, a series of massive, violent splashes erupted on the distant sea. A whole pack of dark triangular fins sliced through the churning waves, heading directly toward our raft. They were coming fast. I didn't waste a single breath. I grabbed my long hook in one hand and gripped the ancient bone sword tightly in the other, stepping out onto the slippery deck to meet the threat. Moving with swift, fluid, and lethal strikes, I used the weakness perception skill to trace the predator's vital points, systematically slaughtering every single shark that tried to breach our platform. By the time the water turned entirely red, the battle was won. After routing the massive carcasses through our standard internal trade multiplier, the final haul was staggering. I ended up with 60 bottles of premium shark fin soup, 1,500 portions of raw shark meat, and 600 units of durable shark skin. The entire ordeal left my muscles burning and my body completely exhausted. I quickly popped the cap off a bottle of the newly acquired shark fin soup, chugging it down to instantly recover my stamina. Once my breathing steadied, I pulled out the rare weapon purification card we had been saving and applied it directly to my bone blade. The sword absorbed the card's energy, glowing brilliantly before transforming. Congratulations, you successfully obtain a rare Rui ancient sword. According to the new weapon stats, I could now freely control its physical size and length at will through my mental energy. The longer and larger the blade extended, the higher the raw destructive power bonus it received. However, as the mass increased, its overall sharpness would proportionally decrease. Still, the versatility was insane. Just then, the global chat channel erupted into absolute chaos as the trial took its toll on the less prepared survivors. "Can anyone lend me a weapon?" one user cried out in sheer panic. "A shark just shattered my platform and took my spear. Please." Seeing the desperate flood of players who had lost their primary means of defense, my eyes instantly lit up. A perfect business opportunity. I rushed over to the newly unlocked workbench and started crafting at maximum speed. 15 minutes later, utilizing our bulk resources, I had successfully assembled 10 heavy steel machetes and 10 reinforced long spears. I immediately posted them onto the public trade area to capitalize on the panic, adding a sharp caption: limited quantity. First come, first served. The very second the listing went live, my notification tray was completely flooded with thousands of private messages. I was fully planning to ignore a very familiar pigtail avatar that popped up near the top, but then my eyes caught the specific barter items she was offering. She had put up a solar-powered Little Sun blueprint alongside a high-tier skill-blind box. Of course, maintaining her usual survival strategy, she also attached a highly suggestive photo and a 30-second preview video to sweeten the deal. After saving the photo and video to my local storage with a quick click, I processed the transaction. I traded away 5 bottles of our highly toxic radiation source wastewater in exchange for the Little Sun blueprint and the skill-blind box. She was so incredibly grateful to receive such a lethal defensive weapon that she immediately sent over 2 more exclusive photos, thanking me profusely for saving her life, while simultaneously cursing me out as an absolute heartless demon in the chat log. I just laughed, closing the menu to inspect our new loot. "Don't think you can mess with my focus," I muttered aloud, acting completely unbothered by the pigtail girl's suggestive messages. But despite my firm words, my fingers moved on instinct and I still hit save on the media files anyway. Capitalizing on the frantic, late-stage panic of the trial, I launched another rapid round of trading on the market. Desperate players threw everything they had at my listings, and I successfully raked in a multi-energy Little Sun blueprint, a high-level skill-blind box, an engineering crossbow blueprint, an engineering hammer blueprint, a bomb dart blueprint, a high-level recycling bin blueprint, and a laser water gun blueprint. Before I could even sort through the massive digital haul, Xiaomei's sharp voice cut through the air. "Swordfish attacking." From the port side, I immediately grabbed my weapon, bracing my feet against the slick wood to fight. Who knew these swordfish had absolutely no honor? Instead of darting in one by one, they coordinated and started a massive group attack, launching themselves out of the water like silver missiles from all angles. Sensing the lethal danger, I focused my mind and cracked open a high-level speed card. Instantly, the world stuttered. The leaping swordfish looked like they were moving in slow motion, frozen midair before my eyes. I went on an absolute rampage. Moving with blinding speed, I systematically intercepted them. The swordfish landed directly on the raft, their forms flashing as they broke down into neat piles of high-grade fish meat and pristine bones. Pressing my advantage while the speed buff was still active, I boldly jumped into the sea for a full-blown killing spree to clear the waters around our perimeter. That was until I encountered another completely uninvited guest lurking on the seabed. Out of the murky depths emerged a giant octopus, the exact same one with the severed arms from our previous encounter. Its sudden, vengeful appearance completely threw off my rhythm. Realizing a tactical underwater battle against a colossal kraken was well above my pay grade, I swam hard and retreated back to the safety of the raft to strategize. Remembering the weapon blueprints I had just acquired, I opened my crafting menu and quickly burned a system accelerator to craft the bomb darts and the heavy laser water gun to fight back. Down below, the enraged octopus began slamming its massive bulk against our hull, making the entire platform tilt wildly at extreme angles. Let him cook, I yelled to myself, anchoring my boots to the deck. I unleashed a devastating barrage of the newly minted bomb darts straight into the water, followed immediately by a sweeping, high-intensity beam from the laser water gun. The combined explosive and thermal assault tore through the surf, finally killing the giant octopus once and for all. Even as the massive tentacles went limp and floated to the surface, I didn't dare let my guard down, staying on high alert and staring intently at the bubbling sea. A massive golden system banner suddenly rolled across the horizon. Congratulations on surviving the beginner's trial. Starting tomorrow morning, you will face an even tougher survival test. The once deathly quiet global chat area instantly became lively again as the survivors celebrated making it through the meat grinder. Woohoo! I finally survived, one user cheered. That octopus was so incredibly dangerous, I almost lost my mind. Another typed. Is that guy trading? A familiar handle popped up. Brand new custom video available, now featuring tentacle monsters. I just shook my head. The audacity of some people. Right then, a personalized golden notification materialized exclusively before me and Xiaomei. Congratulations on slaying the giant octopus king. Reward: 2 talent upgrade cards, 2 premium skill chests, 1 unconditional raft upgrade card, 1 random raft skill card, 1 clairvoyant telescope. System prompt: do you want to announce this achievement to the global server? If I don't announce it, I'm just a clown, I thought. Let them see it. Let these rewards come even harder. I hit the confirm button, broadcasting our victory to the entire remaining player base. Following our optimized routine, I had Xiaomei list and trade these specific rewards directly over to me to catch the multiplier. The talent flashed with unprecedented intensity. After the talent boost settled, the items in my inventory transformed beautifully. I successfully got 2 talent purification cards, 2 unique skill chests, 1 unconditional raft purification card, 1 random advanced raft skill card, and 1 high-tech satellite telescope. Eager to maximize my power, I directly picked up one of the talent purification cards and smashed it into my character profile. I braced myself for an explosion of energy, but there was absolutely no reaction at all. The interface remained completely unchanged. Seeing my confusion, Xiaomei suggested doing a small test trade to see if the underlying numbers of the talent had altered. I agreed, spending 1 basic bottle of purified water to trade for 2 units of raw wood from a random listing. After collecting the material, I had her trade it back to me. Talent, harvest activated. Supply, wood planks triggered a rare 100x increase. Congratulations, you obtained 1 piece of advanced dragon-slaying wood. Passive property, significantly reduces the baseline chance of aggressive sea beast attacks. My face instantly lit up with pure joy, and I turned to Xiaomei, excitedly exclaiming, now I can get a guaranteed 100x boost across the board. With my talent verified, I handed the second talent skill card over to Xiaomei and had her activated on herself. The moment she crushed the card, the surrounding air inside the shelter inexplicably became sweeter, smelling of fresh rain. Xiaomei's entire body began to emit a faint, ethereal golden glow. She looked down at her hands, smiled, and then extended a single glowing finger to touch my arm. Instantly, a wave of profound relief washed over me. It felt exactly like I was getting a full-body massage from a top-tier luxury therapist. It was that comfortable. My talent has also been enhanced, she murmured, checking her updated status screen. Besides passively using my own blood to heal others, I can now actively consume blood to instantly restore my target's physical stamina, mental spirit, and overall energy. I was quite satisfied with this talent upgrade. After all, when the world is ending, nothing is better than holding your sweet, fragrant girlfriend while sleeping peacefully. Next, I had Xiaomei open the unique skill chests, since my own luck with randomized drops was honestly completely terrible. She cracked her chest open flawlessly, but when I reached for mine, the second chest locked up tightly, refusing to open no matter how hard I pried at the latches. I could only close my eyes, frantically praying to every god and Buddha I could think of in my heart, before trying one last time. The lock clicked. Congratulations, you obtained the unique skill, Die Trying. Skill description: burn absolutely everything you currently possess, health, energy, and spirit to gain 10 minutes of a 100x explosive power multiplier. It was a total double-edged sword. Turning to check Xiaomei's newly acquired skill card, her pull was just as intense. Unique skill: live through death. Skill description: allows the user to prepare resurrection flesh in advance. Testing or eating a piece of resurrection flesh grants the consumer 1 full instance of death immunity. Note: crafting resurrection flesh requires the user to consume a massive, near-lethal amount of their own active blood. Reading through the harrowing cost of Xiaomei's new resurrection ability, my heart broke for her. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her tightly against me to let her know she wasn't alone in facing the dark realities of this world. Wanting to shift our momentum and secure our safety, I pulled out our newly acquired unconditional raft purification card and crushed it directly into the deck. Instantly, the wooden planks groaned and shifted violently beneath our feet. I felt my entire line of sight rising rapidly as the humble raft tore itself apart, reshaping and expanding into something entirely different. The transformation was breathtaking. I immediately opened the system interface to inspect our updated stronghold stats. Fishing boat level 0. Dimensions, 5 meters by 18 meters. Durability, 5,000. Special effect, weatherproof. Skill, ground baiting, can be performed once per day. Set sail. After specifying a desired direction, the vessel will travel rapidly at a fixed speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Lasts continuously for 3 hours. Can be used at most once per day. Active property, no collision volume. Equipment, advanced automatic defense harpoon, advanced speedboat motor. Structures, level 1 workbench, used to craft tools and weapons. Level 1 stove. Unlocked recipes, grilled fish, chopped chili fish head. Storage locker, not unlocked. It actually performed a total crap to fishing boat transformation for me right then and there. This flawless performance honestly deserved a triple like on the forums. I looked down, completely riding a high, until my eyes landed on the random advanced raft skill card still resting in my palm, and I instantly lost my smile. My face twisted into a bitter grimace as the reality of my abysmal luck resurfaced. Can this card even still be used on a vessel that's already reached this tier? I asked, a heavy sigh escaping me. Let's just try it, Xiaomei encouraged gently. Nodding, I tapped the glowing card against the reinforced hull of the fishing boat beneath my feet. To my absolute surprise, the card didn't shatter into failure particles. Instead, it began to emit a blinding, radiant light. Congratulations, your fishing boat has obtained the advanced skill, Rampage. Skill description. Dictates a violent forward charge at a designated target at a flat speed of 200 kilometers per hour. During the entire duration of the charge, the hull's maximum durability is amplified by 300%. Reading the terrifying combat description, a sharp gasp caught in my throat. Holy cow, I exclaim aloud. Is this the legendary indestructible made in China structural integrity? That's freaking awesome. Finally, I picked up our last major reward, the satellite telescope. I brought up its data stream to see what we were working with. Satellite telescope. Normal mode. Allows the user to clearly see and track objects within a 10 to 20 kilometer range. Charged mode. Designate a specific target. Once locked, the target remains visible globally, with absolutely no physical obstructions, entirely unlimited by spatial distance. I stared at the pristine, high-tech lens in awe. A telescope, this incredibly badass, absolutely can't be allowed to fall into the wrong hands out here. I'll just have to keep it perfectly safe for them. Xiaomei didn't wait for me to finish admiring it. She immediately snatched the telescope right out of my hands. Switching the interface over to charge mode, she quickly entered Qianqian's personal identification information and initiated a global search. A few tense minutes passed as the device calibrated. Suddenly, Xiaomei let out an excited squeal and hugged me tightly. Found her. That girl is actually sitting around eating hot pot right now. She's living way too comfortably. A massive wave of relief washed over her, the lingering tension from the trial finally draining from her shoulders. With her mind at peace, she decided to head inside and pamper herself, sinking gratefully into our water-purifying tub to soak. Half an hour later, she emerged, completely refreshed, and I couldn't wait to jump into the tub right after her. Submerging myself in the warm water, catching the faint, sweet trace of Xiaomei's lingering scent, I started bathing comfortably, letting the exhaustion of the past 6 days melt away. Once I finished, I dried off and crawled into the sleeping quarters. I pulled the fragrant, clean Xiaomei into my arms, and we drifted off to sleep to the gentle rocking of the hull. Waking up the next morning, I felt re-energized. I picked up the satellite telescope first thing, stepping out onto the deck to scan our immediate surroundings. My mind naturally drifted back to Qianqian, so out of curiosity, I activated the charge mode to see what she was up to. Who knew a single look through the lens would make me blush furiously? I froze, my face burning as I stared at the feed. Damn, why is Qianqian taking a full bath so incredibly early in the morning? What are you looking at? Xiaomei's voice drifted over as she walked up beside me from the cabin. I pulled my eyes away from the lens, and the moment I looked at her, I was instantly captivated all over again. Her soft, gentle gaze pinned me to the spot, looking so incredibly beautiful that I felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to just go over and take a couple of bites out of her. Yielding completely to the impulse, I stepped forward, wrapped my arms tightly around Xiaomei's waist, and locked our lips together in a deep morning kiss. After we finally broke apart, I pulled up the global chat channel and noticed the area was unusually lively for this hour. The feed was moving at lightning speed. Turns out, a massive number of survivors had woken up early only to find schools of ferocious, bloodthirsty sea creatures circling their platforms, actively saying a violent hello to them. Reading the frantic horror stories, I blinked and looked out at our own perfectly still, peaceful waters. If everyone else is fighting for their lives, then why haven't we been attacked yet? I pondered the anomaly for a moment before the realization clicked. Could it be because of the passive deterrent effect from that piece of advanced dragon-slaying wood we integrated? Before I could investigate further, the sky darkened slightly as a massive server-wide announcement boomed through the air. Congratulations on surviving the first synchronized attack. Survival parameters will become significantly harder from this point forward. Everyone, please open your personal attribute panels now to review your baseline adaptations. Hearing the ominous system prompt echo across the deck, Xiaomei and I locked eyes, our playful mood instantly evaporating. Without a word, we immediately opened our respective personal attribute panels to check exactly what kind of hand we had been dealt for the next phase of the game. Whoa, your stamina is so much higher than mine, I said, looking over her newly opened attribute panel. I grinned, leaning back against the console. As expected of my wife, you clearly have the potential of an absolute emperor. Just then, our mounted fishing rod started shaking violently, bending nearly double toward the churning water. I hurried over to the deck to pull it up, bracing my feet against the hull. But the fish I hauled over the railing this time, man, the math ain't mathing. Why does it look so incredibly strange? The moment it hit the deck, the system interface flashed, and the bizarre specimen was immediately broken down into 5 portions of fish meat and 2 portions of fish bone. Following our routine, I ran the materials through an internal trade with Xiaomei to trigger the multiplier. The talent boost worked its magic flawlessly. I successfully got 3 portions of bone-corroding poison, a single portion of which could completely poison any biological creatures of high quality and below. Along with that came a staggering 200 portions of skeleton fish meat. According to the system tooltip, this meat contained a volatile toxin that directly corroded bones. Eating too much would lead to full-body osteoporosis, horrific flesh decay, and a painful death. Finally, I received 2 portions of premium skeleton fish king bone. The item note suggested brewing it into a soup, detailing that each consumed portion would permanently increase a survivor's stamina by 1 and strength by 1. Seeing the incredible stat description of the fish king bone, I immediately decided right then and there that we were having fish soup for lunch. After all, who doesn't love things that permanently boost your base stats? But this massive stockpile of toxic fish meat was a tricky one. It sat in my inventory like a ticking time bomb until I had a sudden, brilliant idea. I immediately opened up the global trade channel, explicitly explained the horrific, bone-rotting effects of the skeleton fish meat in plain text, and listed the items anyway in neat stacks of 20. I uploaded all 200 portions total, adding a quick note. First come, first served. Apparently, people in this survival game were completely desperate or just built different, because all 200 portions were snapped up instantly by the market. After collecting the various items traded in exchange, my inventory exploded with loot. I got a fully automatic washing machine blueprint, an advanced flush toilet blueprint, a laser gun blueprint, 100 pounds of advanced nutrient soil, a deep-sea traveler blueprint, 2,000 pounds of fresh pineapple, 500 cans of yellow peaches, a random rare skill blind box, 800 hours of time accelerators, 2 advanced accelerators, and a multi-energy battery blueprint. Looking at the sudden, absurd mountain of 2,000 pounds of pineapple and 500 cans of yellow peaches clogging my storage screen, my head started spinning. My brain has too many tabs open. I immediately turned around and listed the bulk fruit back onto the market, setting up trades to acquire the specific components needed for the new blueprints alongside some other basic raw materials. Once the exchanges cleared, I used 320 hours of our newly acquired acceleration time, watching the system light up as it instantly turned all the acquired blueprints into actual, physical items on our boat. With the building out of the way, I handed the random rare skill blind box over to Xiaomei to open, trusting her touch over mine. Congratulations, you've obtained a rare skill card, Heavenly Voice. According to the description, through the power of singing, the user could apply a massive aura buff to a designated target, temporarily increasing all of their base attributes by a staggering 200%. It had a duration of 5 minutes and a cooldown of 30 minutes. Xiaomei's eyes went wide, and she chose to use and learn the card immediately. Eager to see what a 200% stat explosion felt like, I asked her to sing a quick song to test the active effect. She smiled, her red lips parting slightly as a rhythmic, healing melody began to play across the deck. Floating, floating, floating in the big, big sea. Instantly, my face completely froze. It do be like that. Even though the actual songwriting wasn't exactly great, the subpar vocals didn't affect the system's raw results. Hardened, my entire body's muscles were suddenly completely hardened, surging with an unbelievable, unnatural tide of physical power. Xiaolu, I want to use the telescope to check on Qianchen, Xiaomei said, the song fading as she looked toward the horizon. I handed the high-tech satellite binoculars over to her. Unexpectedly, Xiaomei took one look through the lens and instantly cried out in alarm, her face turning pale. Oh no, Qianchen is in danger. Before I could even speak or ask what was happening, her relaxed attitude did a complete 180 into pure panic. I immediately grabbed the binoculars back from her to see the threat myself. Adjusting the focus, I locked onto Qianqian's coordinates. Through the lens, I saw her facing a massive, aggressive shark that was circling her position. What shocked me was that she didn't show even a single hint of panic. She just stood there. Only when the shark lunged directly out of the water right at her did she slowly raise a hand and calmly snap her fingers. The response was instantaneous. Several massive streams of water rose violently from the sea, freezing into jagged ice spikes in the blink of an eye and piercing the shark straight through the torso. It died a horrible, instantaneous death. This casual display of absolute magical dominance completely stunned me. It took a long while before I could even find my voice, muttering in utter disbelief. Qian is that strong? Damn, this comparison makes me look absolutely pathetic. Talk about emotional damage. Xiao Mei, however, was ecstatic, grabbing my arm tightly. Xiao Lu, let's go find Qian right away. Nodding, I pulled up the system map, using her current visual coordinates to determine Qian's approximate direction. Xiao Mei, go inside and prepare lunch with the Fish King bone. I'm going to adjust the boat's course. As I stepped over to the advanced motor console to lock in our new heading, I thought silently to myself, if all goes well and we maintain our speed, we should be able to cross the distance and find Qian in about half a month. The only real wildcard left was that I just didn't know if explicitly entering other distinct sea regions was even allowed by the system rules yet. Xiao Lu, come here quickly. Xiao Mei's sudden, sharp shout cut through my thoughts from the deck. Throwing the engine into neutral, I immediately came out of the cabin to see what was happening. Not far from our newly upgraded fishing boat, a dark-skinned man was sitting on a crude raft, frantically waving something in his hand as he attempted to close the distance between us. The second I spotted him, I didn't hesitate. I ducked straight back into the cabin, grabbed the wheel, and steered the boat sharply away to leave him in our wake. After all, you can't judge a book by its cover, but in an apocalypse like this, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Reality called, so I hung up on whatever desperate scheme he was pulling. From behind us, I could practically hear a faint, frustrated scream across the water. Damn it, they actually got away. While I remained completely focused on driving the fishing boat at full speed to put some distance between us, the global chat channel absolutely exploded. The reason for the sudden frenzy was that some random observer had managed to snap a high-resolution photo of Xiao Mei standing out on the deck, casually fishing from the bow of our motorized vessel. Holy crap, this boat belongs to a beautiful big shot, one message text flashed. So, how do you actually upgrade to a fishing boat? Mine is still basically a floating pile of twigs, another user spammed. What? Why does he have a motorized boat already? Must be hacking. I completely missed the chaos brewing online because my brain had too many tabs open. Instead of reading the forums, I was frantically sweeping the public trading area, buying up every scrap of raw construction, supplies, and extra food I could find. While browsing, I also thoughtfully bought myself a decent shirt. It was always freezing and chilly out at sea, even if it meant I couldn't show off my abs to Xiao Mei anytime, anywhere anymore. A tragic sacrifice, truly. Right around that time, Xiao Mei actually received a direct private message from a man. Auntie, is that you? The text read. It's me, Zhang Long. An attached photo of a young man sporting ridiculous, multicolored neon hair appeared before Xiao Mei's eyes on her interface. Auntie, I know I was immature before, the follow-up message pleaded. For the sake of my dad and my uncle, I really hope you can forgive me. Xiao Mei stared at the screen for a second before completely ignoring it, closing the window without a word. Her previous impression of this Zhang Long was absolutely terrible, and she had zero interest in reliving past family drama. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble entirely. Our main priority right now was simply to find Qian as soon as possible. After closing out the chat box, she curled up next to me, and we both drifted off into a sweet, exhausting sleep. On the other side of the sector, Zhang Long had been staring at his glowing screen, hoping to gain some favor and secure a lifeline. After waiting a long time without seeing even a hint of a reply from Xiao Mei, his expression turned incredibly cold. Ignoring me, huh? He muttered, his eyes narrowing as he glared at his interface. I wasn't planning on getting rough with you, but once I use this teleport card to find your exact location, you're done for. Right beside Zhang Long, another man sat on the cramped wood, glaring at him fiercely with deep, unspoken resentment. The next morning, the sky was clear as Xiao Mei stood out on the deck to cast her line. Mid-cast, something on the horizon caught her attention. She stiffened, hurriedly calling out for me to come look. I rushed out of the steering cabin to see what had her so worked up. She pointed a trembling finger toward a tiny black speck breaking the flat line of the ocean. Xiao Lu, look over there. What is that? I quickly picked up the satellite binoculars to observe the anomaly, but what I saw through the high-powered lens made me let out a loud cry of utter surprise. I threw the telescope down, scrambled back to the helm, and hurriedly steered the boat directly toward the black dot. As we pulled within a safe distance, I cut the motor and let us drift to a stop. At this moment, the full view of that distant black dot finally appeared clearly before us. It wasn't a piece of debris or a massive sea monster. It was actually an island solid, real land. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my excitement cooled slightly when I noticed several crude rafts were already anchored along the shallow shoreline. Could someone have already claimed this land? I thought to myself, weighing the risks. This was the very first piece of actual land I had laid eyes on since this twisted survival game started. No matter who was already here, I needed to check it out thoroughly. Turning back to the deck, I handed our heavy laser water gun and the multi-purpose long hook over to Xiao Mei, checking her grip on the weapons. I'm going up onto the shore to check things out. You wait here on the boat and keep the engine primed. Just in case anyone else tries to approach from the other side, we need to prevent the fishing boat from being stolen. Armed to the teeth with my rare Ruyi ancient sword, the handheld laser gun, and a few high-tier, single-use skill cards tucked safely into my pockets, I stepped toward the edge of the bow. "You must be careful," Xiaomei murmured, her eyes wide with concern. "I'll wait right here for you to come back." I nodded, took a breath, and leaped down into the shallow surf. Once my boots hit dry land, I crossed a narrow patch of coarse coastal grass and cautiously entered the shadow of the dense woods. Following a set of faint, disrupted tracks pressed into the dirt, I held the ancient sword out in front of me to probe the thick undergrowth, slowly venturing deeper into the silent forest. The deeper I went, the tenser the atmosphere became. Suddenly, I froze. Hanging conspicuously from a thick tree trunk was a shredded, translucent piece of cloth, deeply stained with dried, blackened blood. While I was still standing there, staring at the cloth and pondering what kind of horror had occurred here, a series of sharp, guttural screeching sounds reached my ears from further up the trail. I bolted, quickly finding a thick patch of tall grass to hide in, dropping low and holding my breath. Within moments, the source of the unsettling noise came bounding out from deep within the woods. My eyes widened as I took them in. They were two grotesque, monkey-like creatures, though their entire bodies were a slick, dark green color, looking exactly like rotting seaweed. Each of them held a crude, jagged, javelin-like weapon tightly in their webbed hands. Water monkeys. The realization sent a shiver down my spine. This is bad, I thought. Is fate really trying to kill me right now? The two water monkeys walked right past my hiding spot, completely oblivious to my presence, their primitive webbed feet shuffling straight toward the shore where our vessel was anchored. Panic spiking, I immediately brought up my interface and fired off a rapid, silent message to Xiaomei, telling her to drop the anchor lines and move the fishing boat further away from the beach right this second. Meanwhile, I dropped into a low crouch and crept stealthily along the damp undergrowth, tracking the exact direction the water monkeys had just come from. It didn't take long to discover the opening of the water monkey's lair, but the horrific scene waiting for me there almost made me vomit on the spot. The air was heavy and suffocating, filled with a foul, rotting stench that clogged my throat. Suspended right at the entrance of the primitive structure, 3 severed human heads hung by their hair, swaying gently in the breeze. This was the absolute first time I had ever seen such gruesome, mutilated remains of my own kind, since being dragged into this ocean nightmare. Just as my stomach violently turned and I prepared to leave, completely unable to take another second of it, a faint, agonizing groan of pain drifted out from the dark interior of the hut. Gripping the hilt of my rare Ruyi ancient sword tightly, my knuckles turning white, I cautiously approached the threshold. Crouching inside the shadows, I spotted a woman clad in tattered, shredded clothing, lying weakly on the dirt ground. I walked in warily, every nerve ending on high alert. Who would have thought that the split second I got close, the seemingly dying woman on the ground would undergo a violent transformation? Her limbs snapped into unnatural angles as she mutated, suddenly screaming and launching herself straight at me. Reacting purely on survival instinct, I lunged forward and directly impaled her chest with the ancient sword. I stood frozen, looking down at the thrashing woman I had just stabbed. Her eyes had turned a completely blood-red color, devoid of any humanity, looking exactly like a zombie from a horror movie. Holy crap, how did a basic ocean survival game suddenly turn into a genetic mutation scenario? Is there going to be a full-on zombie siege testing our bases later on? This island isn't safe at all. I need to get the hell out of here right now. As I turned and began fleeing the lair in a borderline panic, the 2 seaweed-covered water monkeys I had spotted earlier caught my scent and aggressively approached me from the brush, their sharp silver spears instantly thrusting out to pin me to the trees. I backed up, quickly raised the laser gun, and switched the internal toggle over to rapid-fire mode. Blinding beams of thermal energy tore through the foliage, riddling the water monkeys with sizzling holes until they collapsed into the dirt. I didn't waste a single second gloating over the victory. I spun on my heel and immediately sprinted back toward the shore where the fishing boat was anchored. As my boots pounded past the various abandoned rafts lining the shallow sand, a sudden system prompt popped up across my vision. Ownerless raft discovered. Deconstruct? I didn't hesitate, immediately selecting the deconstruct option on all of them before rushing through the surf to climb back onto the fishing boat. The second I breached the railing, Xiaomei, whose face was pale with worry, saw that I had returned completely safe and sound. She immediately rushed across the deck and threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly as her heart filled with absolute joy. Slowly, the suffocating tension that had gripped my chest since entering the woods began to ease. Once my breathing regulated, I told her everything about the horrific zombie mutation and the water monkeys on the island. Afterward, I had her use our established proxy system to trade the raw materials I had just obtained from deconstructing the shore rafts directly back to me. The resource multiplier triggered flawlessly, scrolling a massive list of spoils across my interface. Congratulations, obtained 300 core stones, can be used to upgrade the fishing boat. Obtained 1 piece of wood. Obtained 200 pieces of dragon-slaying wood. Obtained 1,500 packs of cigarettes. Obtained 300 cans of beer. Obtained 300 watermelons. Obtained 200 pieces of adamantite. Obtained 400 solar converters. Obtained 300 electronic components. Obtained 200 mechanical cores. Obtained 1 intelligent HD drone blueprint. Obtained 1 locked Desert Eagle blueprint. I stared at the single, solitary piece of normal wood sitting in my hand, my jaw dropping in utter disbelief. What the hell? The math ain't mathing. How does my own god-tier talent even know how to selectively withhold stuff like a stingy landlord? Before I could properly process the insult, a cold, generic system notification pinged across the server. Attention survivors. After the newbie protection period concludes, all peer-to-peer trades will incur a flat 10% transaction fee. Damn it. What kind of crappy, corporate rule is that? But out here in the middle of nowhere, you just have to accept your fate and keep moving. Shaking off the frustration, I walked over to the integrated level 1 workbench and inputted the materials to craft the Desert Eagle. Lifting the heavy, sleek firearm from the crafting slot, I turned it over in my hands. I'd like to see how an automated system actually locks onto heads out here. The moment my gaze casually drifted toward Xiaomei to see what she was doing, the hand holding the heavy pistol uncontrollably raised itself into the air, the iron sight snapping perfectly and pointing straight at her forehead. Damn it! Panic surging through me, I quickly let go of the grip and threw the gun violently across the deck. As it clattered against the wood, the Desert Eagle's official weapon stats materialized in the air. Item name, Headshot Desert Eagle. Properties, automatically locks onto the exact center of the head of whoever the active user is looking at. Currently has 10 bullets available. After reading the incredible automated description, my eyes instantly lit up with pure excitement. Holy cow, it can literally aimbot lock onto heads. Isn't this a guaranteed one-shot, one-kill weapon for totally dominating any future threats? From now on, you can officially call me the gunslinger. Feeling significantly safer with a literal cheat code weapon on board, Xiaomei and I shared some lighthearted fun on the boat to wash away the horrors of the island before turning in and falling into a deep, peaceful sleep. Waking up early the next day, Xiaomei went to check the console, only to see a flashing private message from Zhang Long pop up right on the main monitor. Auntie, I think I see your fishing boat on the horizon, the text read. Auntie, please slow down your boat and wait up for me. Xiaomei's expression soured instantly. She immediately closed out the chat window the second she finished reading it, completely ignoring his request. Out on the open water behind us, seeing that our massive fishing boat wasn't showing even the slightest hint of slowing down, Zhang Long's face twisted into a snarl. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a rare consumable card. If you're going to be completely merciless, then don't blame me for being unjust, he hissed. Haste card. After activation, the target raft's base movement speed increases to a flat 50 kilometers per hour. Duration, 1 hour. The wooden raft beneath Zhang Long's feet shuddered as a surge of artificial energy propelled it forward, accelerating rapidly across the waves and quickly catching up to our trailing wake. Back on the boat, just as I was about to sit down and foster some romantic feelings with Xiaomei, a loud, metallic thud suddenly echoed through the hull, like something heavy, slamming against the exterior of our cabin. My internal alarms flared. I immediately grabbed a weapon from the rack and headed outside onto the deck, only to find a heavy iron grappling hook with a thick rope attached hanging securely over our side railing. Down below, one desperate-looking man was anchoring the baseline of the rope on a trailing raft, while another frantic man was already pulling himself up our hull hand over hand. Oh? I raised an eyebrow, a cold smile touching my lips. Looks like we've encountered some actual robbing pirates out here on the high seas. Hearing the commotion above him, Zhang Long looked up from his approaching raft and saw me standing calmly by the edge of the high boat deck. He cursed violently in his head, thinking some random pirate group had somehow managed to beat him to the punch. Quickly wiping the frustration from his face, he put on a completely normal, cooperative expression and called out, "Brother, don't mind me. I'm just here to join forces with you guys. I actually have quite a lot of good, high-grade supplies on my raft. Shall we all share the wealth?" Seeing that I hadn't returned to the cabin for a while, Xiaomei quickly threw some clothes on and came out to find me, only to freeze when she saw Zhang Long actively trying to climb over her boat's defense perimeter. Knowing damn well that Zhang Long possessed nothing but bad intentions, she didn't waste a single breath arguing. She drew the newly crafted weapon and pointed the headshot Desert Eagle straight at his face, her hand completely steady. "Get down right now," she commanded coldly, her eyes narrowing. "Or I'll shoot." Seeing the situation instantly dissolve into a lethal standoff, the pirate holding the baseline of the rope down below made a desperate, cutthroat decision to save his own skin. He whipped out a jagged knife and sliced clean through the support line. "Die," he screamed up at Zhang Long. "That's for always bullying me." With the rope severed, the sudden loss of tension caused Zhang Long to slam hard against the reinforced side of the fishing boat under the raw momentum of the waves. But even dangling over the abyss, he refused to give up. He snarled, directly activating his personal talent skill, turning his entire body into a glowing, volatile mass of living energy, clearly wanting to blow the hull apart and take us down into the depths with him. Seeing the terrifying glow expand, Xiaomei didn't hesitate for a fraction of a second. She directly pulled the trigger. Bang! The automated headshot tracking worked flawlessly, and Zhang Long's lifeless body fell straight backward into the churning sea. Meanwhile, across the blood-stained water, the treacherous pirate who had just cut the rope and attempted to escape didn't make it more than a few meters. A colossal, dark octopus tentacle suddenly erupted from the abyss, wrapping tightly around his waist and violently pulling him underwater mid-scream. Watching the churning foam slowly fade back into a quiet, flat blue ocean, Xiaomei and I leaned against the railing, letting out a heavy, unified sigh. Human nature really can't withstand even the slightest bit of a test when the world falls apart.